Hello, beautiful Virgos. These are going to be your messages for the next 2 or 3 months. And just like I said in all the other videos, even though this is coming out in July, it may not necessarily make sense to you in the month of July. It may be more applicable in the month of August or even September. For some of you, these energies you have been experiencing already. So let's start with what we have, or let's move on with what we have. Okay, I'm being asked to say what I feel energetically. When I try to tune into your energy, or energy for Virgo, I literally feel stuck. The word complacent comes to mind, and I feel like I'm unable to make a move. And it's hitting me at the base of my throat and also at the top of my chest, and it's coming up. It's coming up higher towards my face. So some of you may actually feel this energetically. What this is telling me is that a considerable number of you are sitting either on a choice or a decision that either has to be made or you want to make, but you may not be certain yet on when, how, and what the next step should be, which indicates a feeling of the proverbial stuckness, whether it is a dead-end job that you are stuck at, a relationship that has gone stagnant, a situation or a set of circumstances in your life where you need to resolve something in order to move on. There's a dominating feeling of feeling stuck and not knowing what to do, yes, but it's more about how to go about doing what I want. So I now become you. And when I was tuning into your energy a little bit more, you symbolically turned into a King of Coins. So to me, it was boom, security. King of Coins to me represents stability, ability to rely on your own skills. This often is associated with promotion, with feeling strong on your footing in terms of your finances or the physical aspect of things. And then this king quickly turned into, he got on a horse and he started to move very quickly. So symbolically, it could have been the chariot. And I kind of was watching this energy, and I was having a conversation with spirit. It's like, what does this mean? Because I've learned not to ever assume. The way I receive information is I either know the interpretation right away, or I ask what the interpretation is. I try not to put my own spin on it, because oftentimes that's not the case. So the point here I'm trying to make is there seems to be significant movement over the next 3 to 4 months, so that July, August, September, October, between now and let's say the end of October, pertaining to a sense of stability or security, either outside of you, meaning your job, your finances, your relationships, or how you feel about yourself. And I also hear the words, there is no looking back. What this is also indicating to me that you are either moving out of current situation, which does not allow you to feel stable or be stable, whether financially, emotionally, or otherwise, or it's a decision or a choice you are making because whatever you define as stability and security has in some way changed, and what you have no longer fits the new understanding, or the new understanding what security is, and therefore you make the choice to make the change, to find something that is much more aligned with your newfound what's the word I want to use here? Association of safety and security. A lot of it comes from the mind, and my job, my role in this physical body right now is to help you see things from a different perspective, help you shift your consciousness, help you shift your awareness, because your current awareness is what dictates your experiences. So the moment your awareness shifts, your experiences begin to shift as well. And as I'm saying this, the number 9 comes up, which is significant of needing to let go of some outdated beliefs. The word that comes up to me now, which came to me at the beginning, which I didn't understand, is the word perfectionism. So for many of you, this is about letting go of the need to be perfect, whether it is perfection in your physical body, whether it's perfection with what you do, how you see things. Perfectionism doesn't really exist. That is not to say that if you are an accountant, for example, you don't have to be precise with your numbers. Of course you do, because 1 plus must always equals 2. So that's not what I mean. You guys understand when I say the word perfectionism. Anything that you deem is not good enough and you deem needs perfection or needs to be perfected, particularly about you as a human being, you might want to look, number one, if this applies to you. I think it applies to most people to some extent. And 2, realize that you are a perfect being already. Therefore, your idea of perfectionism doesn't really exist. Now, yes, I do understand that we want to make things better, that we want to make ourselves be better, that absolutely. But here's the difference. If you are wanting a change, make that change because you are choosing a different experience, not because you are not enough or there's something in you that's not enough. And that begins to change the dialogue you have with yourself, which essentially changes the dialogue you have with the world. The dialogue you have with yourself is very much based on the expectation you have of yourself and the world. So if you feel you are not good enough, chances are you will shortchange yourself in many things. You will keep yourself away from taking responsible risks and opportunities. You will not allow yourself to be as open to receiving. And the very things that you are wanting to accomplish seem to kind of pass you by, and you don't seem to be able to attain. So if I said that this is about some sort of a radical change, I wouldn't be far off with that explanation. So the movement is being shown to me. Do not be surprised. First of all, I want to say this: do not be afraid to experiment with newfound freedom. What does that mean? More than anything, to me, it symbolizes freedom within your own being, freedom from attachments from your past, freedom from your limitations. Don't be afraid to experiment with this newfound freedom. So chances are many of you who are meant to hear this have been undergoing some challenging times over the last several months and perhaps several years. What the idea of a circle closing is being shown to me, which symbolizes very much an ending of a cycle. And when I say ending of a cycle, what this means to me from spiritually is that you are entering a space in time where you are ready, willing, and much more likely to succeed at ridding yourself of things that you no longer need. So criticisms about you based on your inadequacies or your perceived inadequacies, those things are highly likely to be let go from you, by you, and that will be a conscious choice. Things, people, circumstances, situations, associations that you have been connected to or attached to that is draining you in some fundamental way, whether it's financially, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of the above, you will begin to slowly but surely realize that life is too short to waste time on being connected to things that no longer serve you, and you will begin to pull the plug, so to speak, on those things, and you will begin to free yourself from those associations. And that could be in terms of work, relationship, companionship, associations. I think you guys get the picture. So this is a very profound time and a good time to take a close look at your vocabulary. What does that mean? Well, essentially, the way you communicate to yourself is the way you commune with yourself. That shows you the relationship you have with yourself. If you are very hard on yourself and consistently beating yourself up, that your relationship with you, well, sucks. And that's just a overstated exaggeration, but I'm trying to make a point here. My nose is itchy. This happens often when spirit is close by. So examining your thoughts, examine your beliefs, examine your behaviors are critically important over the next several months. So if you want to take an inventory of what your belief systems are and examine your perceptions about things, people, situations, money, security, and notice if some of those perceptions stem from a belief system, that a foundation that has cracks in it. And that's metaphor for a belief system that is served you once, but it no longer serves you. You have outgrown it, and it's time to move on. It feels to be a lot about security. I'm going to start with the card here because I don't want to miss the chance talking about the cards. The octopus showed up. Every time this symbol shows up, it means something different. Not because the book changes every time I look at it, but because I seem to get different information on top of what it says in the book. This is an alchemical symbol here for water. So this is about emotions. The tentacles being everywhere, all over the place, to me signify that you may be emotionally all over the place. And the idea of boundaries comes up very clearly. So perhaps this is a time for you to investigate what your boundaries are and if you in fact have any, because if you don't, this is a good time for you to start to implementing boundaries. And for others of you, it is about asserting your boundaries a little bit more. This is not about creating walls where people can't get through to you or you can't get through to people, but it is about boundaries which are associated with how you feel about yourself in terms of the word please, respect. So the more respect you have for yourself, the more likely you will adhere to your boundaries and you will assert your boundaries where necessary. The other message of this card is, notice the head here is very lit up. There is, first of all, octopus is an extraordinarily intelligent being. If you ever watched any shows on octopus, it's just absolutely extraordinary. So, but what I hear, what I'm getting from this card is your, what's the word that I want to use? You may be full of ideas and you may be full of great ideas. I'm going to say ideas, but if you're emotionally all over the place, you might have difficulty implementing those ideas because you will be all over the place. And the idea of taking inventory again comes through. And if you take an inventory of your belief system and you look at the parts of your belief system that perhaps make you have no boundaries or make you feel like you can't assert your boundaries, anything of that sort, it would be really important. And here's why. There are certain steps necessary in order to build a strong foundation upon which your abundance will stand. What that means in plain English is that if your foundation if your belief system does not correspond with what it is that you have ideas about, then chances are those ideas will have a hard time crystallizing themselves in your reality, because it's very difficult to create something you do not believe, or it's very difficult to create something towards which you have an emotional connection of lack. So because security kept coming up over and over again, and this is not just financial security, this is security overall, how secure you feel within yourself, how safe you feel in your body, how safe you feel within you. And chances are, if you're listening to this, there's a part of you that doesn't feel safe. And for various reasons, it might be a very temporary situation where you are in a move from job A to job B, and you don't quite know what it's going to look like. And that may impact how secure you feel within yourself. That's very normal. What I'm talking about is more the persistent level of lack of security that one feels within themselves that then ultimately determines the choices one makes in real life. And these choices are usually based on a fear. And whenever we make choices based on the fear, well, we're always in some way, shape, and form are limiting our potential, because we are reducing our potential only to that which we already know. And we already know that that our perception is very limited. So if this was too much words, because I feel like it's just coming out, I'm trying not to think about it. Listen to it again. But I feel there's a message here that's very strong about changing how you look at yourself in terms of your belief system. Belief system is everything. Your entire belief system shapes your life. There are some things in life that are hard-coded, so to speak. You have a blueprint when you come into this life, and some things are placed in stone. But majority of the things are not placed in stone. Majority of the things that we achieve, attract, and experience, it's under our own creation, it's under our own free will, except we don't look at it that way because that's not how we are taught, and that's not what our belief system reflects for most of us. So boundaries, hugely important. Any inconsistencies with regards to what you want to create and what you believe about it would be extremely important for you to recognize now, before you put a whole bunch of effort into building something you don't believe you can have just to prove yourself correct. So because we're talking about security a lot, because we're talking about finances for a lot of you, chances are this is about you moving into a much more secure place in your life. That is probably a position at a job or in a relationship, how you feel in a relationship. And if you have been feeling not solid in terms of security, and I mean for prolonged period of time, if you have not been feeling very safe in being in relationships, then it's time to uncover what's hidden under the rocks, so to speak, what is creating those feelings within you. Chances are very, very high that over the next 3 to 4 months, some of these things will come up to the surface for you. Some light will be shed on this so that you can finally look at it and then release it. Because the moment you release it, you open yourself up to something much greater. And that could be abundance on all levels: physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, health, you name it. Very important. And I do see here, because I'm going to jump around a little bit, and I feel like it's going to be mostly channeled like some of the other messages. Okay, I'm being zebra. Why am I seeing a zebra? Sorry, a giraffe. Why am I seeing a giraffe? I'm seeing giraffe and I'm hearing zebra. Why is that? Okay, both. All right. Both of these animals live in the desert. What does this mean? It means that this is a time where you might feel like there is not a lot of resources around you. Things, in the desert, there's no rain, things are dry. And when things are dry, well, it's difficult. Things begin to crumble down. I want to say, I need a different way of saying it. How can I explain it, please? Okay, tell them that the hardest part is almost over. Okay, much better. Thank you. So if you have been feeling like an animal in the desert without water, which I would assume is not very comfortable, The message here is that the worst is almost over. Does that mean that you will not have any challenges going forward? Nope. You are a human being. You're here for a challenge or for a whole bunch of challenges. But if there's anything that has been persistently bothering you over time, and you have been putting a lot of work and effort to it in terms of your responsibility in it, chances are quite high that by the end of, maybe this is the October part, by the end of October, you will see yourself releasing either from a situation, from a old way of thinking and believing, from a relationship that doesn't serve you. You guys get the picture. And there seems to be a brand new beginning that's being signified here towards the end of the year. Let me just go through some of the other cards very quickly. There is a decision to be made, as I said in a little earlier, and the decision seems to be around creativity. So it feels very much, this message feels familiar to me as well for some reason. I don't know why, but there are several messages here. One, there's a choice or decision to be made around a creative endeavor that you are either wanting to create or you're choosing. And there's a decision: should I or shouldn't I? Should I or shouldn't I? So for some of you, this is creating something that's new and different. Perhaps creating something that is creating something on your own. Perhaps going your separate way and creating something that's on your own. And this could be business. For others of you, this is about finding a creative outlet. It is extremely important for all of us to have some sort of a creative outlet, because we're all creative creatures, we're all creative beings, but oftentimes we don't give time to our creativity because we're too busy. It doesn't pay rent. It's for kids only. It's, oh, I'm not a child. And then what happens is our creativity begins to stifle. When that happens, we begin to feel that zest for life is lost. We begin to feel like we are complacent. We begin to feel like something is missing. You know, when you eat something and it's whatever you eat and it's just not enough. So when we don't tend to our creative sides, our creative aspects, then things begin to feel dry, just like in a desert. So there is some choice or decision for some of you to be made around some kind of a creative concept, creative idea, or creativity in general, creativity. Because Queen of Coins is also indicated here, and the way she is looking at it is, whatever the creative idea is you have, it doesn't seem to support your belief system around stability. So remember when I was talking about this octopus having lots of ideas? But if these ideas coincide with belief system that is based in lack, then it's going to be very hard to put those ideas into practice and to see them come into fruition in an abundant way. This is what I'm seeing. I feel some of you are looking at changing a job, changing how you do things at work. For some of you, this could be around a relationship, but I feel a lot of it is around stability. So it's going to be primarily safety, security. So yeah, work and relationship. But whatever choice you are contemplating at making, you don't seem to believe that either it exists for you or it can give you abundance. And that's the belief system. If you believe that, that's what you will create. So it's important to take that inventory that I was talking about earlier and notice your belief system and what you believe about money, what you believe about creativity, what you believe about abundance and lack of it. Because there's an indication here that your belief system around money, finances, or general meaning around safety and security has to shift and change. Why? Well, because on some level it's no longer serving you. And Uranus being in the sign of Taurus, it's coming up, is apparently responsible for changing the way we look at security on various levels. So if for example, if your financial security is based in the idea of lack because you have experienced lack before many times, particularly when growing up, then chances are you have a deeply rooted belief around money that is rooted in lack, and therefore money is also security. It might have been very difficult for you to attract that. It's just the way it is. So I do that. That's how I want to leave it. Black leak patterning is just another message of saying, look at your belief system, look at your rigid structures. What belief systems do you have around money? The yellow and orange here is significant of your solar plexus and your sacral chakra. So sacral chakra is all about safety and security. Again, first and second is about safety and security, but second chakra is all about creation. And solar plexus is all about power behind it. So if you have been stifling your creativity, ask yourself your questions. Why? Is it because you don't believe that if you allow yourself to be creative, you can be safe? Because if that's what you believe, that's what you will experience. So just take inventory and notice if that's true for you. Extremely important. The number 8 is a very strong number. So it's about strength. Strength in numbers, what does that mean? Strength in numbers. The more positive associations you have to things like safety and security, the more likely you will see it in your life, oftentimes very, very soon. So notice what your association is towards security, whether it be money, whether safety and security, relationship, whether... I think I could take it in many different directions, but I'm going to just leave that with you and just trust that if it's going to make sense to you, it's going to make sense. Pulse of life is another message that is indicative of trusting life to take care of you. Does that mean letting go of all your responsibilities? No. It just means not having such rigidity around what you think things should look like. Because our thoughts, again, and our perceptions are based on what we have experienced, what is our truth. So essentially, our thoughts are always in the past, right? And chances are, if you're going through a change, or if you're deciding something, or if you're moving, you are contemplating this change because you're trying to compare this to history, and you're trying to figure out either how to go about it in a different way or how not to make the same mistake, right? My cat just meowed here, so that's a big yes. So the message here is trust life to take care of you. It does not mean get rid of your responsibilities and tell everybody to F off. No, it doesn't mean that. You do what you need to do. But the most important thing is watch what runs rampant in your mind. If you have thoughts running rampant in your mind that are based in negativity and lack, then those thoughts will be responsible for your creation down the road. We are all going through this. Every single human being is going through this. This is just the shift we're experiencing on the planet. And it is a radical shift and change in terms of how we think, in terms of what we believe. So you're no different. Is there anything else that I need to say to them, please? Boundaries. If there was anything you got from this, it is about making sure you, A, have personal boundaries, and number 2, stand by your boundaries, assert your boundaries. If you have boundaries but people walk all over you, then you either don't have boundaries or you don't assert your boundaries. And if you don't assert your boundaries, then ask yourself the question, why? How does it serve you when you don't assert your boundaries? You're likely than not are going to say it doesn't serve you. And I always come back and say it does, because if it didn't, you would not be you would not be involved in this energetic exchange. It serves you on some level. Perhaps it serves you in a way that always keeps you feel small, inadequate, that reminds you that other people always come first and not you. Whatever belief system you have, everything always serves us on some level. We often just don't see it because we just don't consciously, we don't see it on a conscious level. So boundaries is hugely important. Also, a shark is showing up in my mind, which to me is indication of deep subconscious aspects of you, fears that can be very detrimental to you. So I think I've already talked about that. This is just a different spin on looking at your subconscious conditioning. The best way to look at something subconscious, which is essentially something you can't see, is to look at the things you keep struggling with over time, over and over. So it's a pattern. When you begin to recognize a pattern, your pattern is very indicative of your belief system. So once you recognize your pattern, you can then pretty clearly see which belief system it stems from. For example, if your pattern has been to attract people who don't deserve you and always disappoint you and diminish you and disrespect you, then you have to look at the belief system you have about you. Chances are you disrespect yourself, you do things that are not respectful to you. Chances are this is something you have observed in your life, and therefore it became your reality and your truth, and you will only create what you deem truth to you. You will never create something you don't believe exists. It's just that simple. So that's a general example of how this works. That's why the inventory, as I mentioned earlier, is so important over the next 3 to 4 months, because there are some significant changes for many of you, and these changes are good. These are not bad changes, but changes require effort, and changes require patience, and changes also ask us to leave some things behind. So beautiful changes can also be uncomfortable. You can be moving to a beautiful brand new house, but the actual process of moving, I don't know about you, but I don't find it very comfortable. So it's a beautiful representation of something beautiful happening, but even though it's beautiful, the process of change can be uncomfortable. So yes, change is uncomfortable, doesn't mean it's bad, but there is some magnificent new beginnings, brand new beginnings for many of you over the next little while. So if that doesn't make sense to you at the beginning of July, please listen to it later. As I mentioned in other videos, I didn't make an intro this month. My messages will tend to have no time frame. That's just how it seems to flow. So I don't know how they're going to be called down the road, but I'm just kind of going with what I feel is the right thing to do at the time. So next 2 to 3 months, please take care of yourself. If you would like to have a session with me to help you figure out your path, that information is down below. I wish you best of luck. Please take care of yourself. Please, please, please have boundaries. Not walls, boundaries, and assert them when necessary. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.